Hello and welcome to Baseplate Reviews. So something a bit different today, actually a couple of sets, but not Lego. So this is actually Mega, I think it used to be Mega Blocks, Mega Constructs, tends to just go by Mega now. This is Mega Pokémon. So the reason for wanting to look at this is because Lego themselves have actually announced that they are going to be doing Lego Pokémon in 2026. But there's already this out there, so Mega already have the license for Pokemon, currently at least. So interesting to see what's already out there, how good this is, and give us a bit of an idea of what Lego might do themselves when the theme releases next year. So first thing to say is, we all complain about Lego prices, but this set, the big one, the Kanto region team, 130 pieces. This goes for around about 33 Canadian dollars. So that's about $23.50 US. I actually picked it up for 23 Canadian dollars, which is about $16.50. But actually the kind of recommended retail price, really expensive from a parts to price ratio. The set here is the Jigglypuff kind of Pokeball. So there is going to be a Jigglypuff figure in there. Basically exactly the same as the 4 Pokemon just there. And this went for 8 Canadian dollars. I think that's about $6.50 US. And as you can see, this is basically their version of the CMF kind of range, except it's not a blind box. So there were lots of different Pokemon to choose from. And I didn't have to try and feel the bag or scan to work out what I was getting. You could just pick out which one you wanted. I'm not quite sure why Lego doesn't do that with that CMF range. If they're concerned that, one figure is going to be more popular than the others, why don't you just produce more of that? For example, the most recent CMF range with the Wolfpack figure. The other thing that's interesting here is, in terms of the box, we can see just there that I don't have to perforate this, I don't think, to open it. So, in terms of maintaining the integrity of the box, why is that something that Lego don't do? I suppose it means you at least know that it's definitely a brand new set. In terms of what the back of the box looks like, pretty much looks the same as the front of the box. We can also see it's showing off some of the other sets you can pick up here. So I think that the Eevee and the Squirtle are a bit like our Jigglypuff Pokeball there. And then there's a bigger buildable Charizard figure. But yeah, interesting. Really is. We've got a little symbol here for Mega Unboxed, build and share. And there's a website for it just there as well. I think trying to encourage people to share their creations. Of course, Mega just doesn't have the cachet, the name recognition that Lego does. I do believe that this is going to be compatible with Lego in terms of the parts. We can see just down here, it all looks like it should be compatible, but we'll take a look at that once we've got it built. This is the first time that I'll have built any Mega stuff at all. But yeah, let's get to opening this and see what we're working with. Let's start off with the bigger set then, the Kanto region team. This is the one with the 3 starter Pokemon, plus Pikachu, plus some pretty rudimentary kind of landscaping there. I would say that because of the folds here, it looks like I don't need to use my trusty Stanley knife, Stanley blade, but there are actually some seals at the side just here, so we'll get that open. So what we've ended up with is actually incredibly similar to Lego, so a couple of numbered bags just there, so 2 bags, plus a nice instruction booklet. Yeah, it looks pretty good actually. And it looks like the instructions, again, very similar to Lego. So basically the same product, but just not with the brand name potentially. let's get this built and see what quality we're looking at.
Now, of course, as soon as I got into the actual build process, as I'm sure many of you suspected, this is where the differences between LEGO and MEGA come to the fore. So the actual build process, pretty simplistic in terms of the build techniques and actually just how the plastic feels. It is definitely a very different feel to LEGO, doesn't feel as satisfying clipping the pieces together, and just overall it just feels a little cheap. It might just be because I'm so used to LEGO, but I think that those of you that have built with both LEGO and other building blocks will probably be able to say there is a difference.
So here we are then, our MEGA building blocks Pokemon set. So we've got our Kanto region team just here, plus our Jigglypuff, plus his Pokeball just there. We'll start off with the Kanto region team set. So we've got the 3 starters, so Bulbasaur, Squirtle and Charmander just over to the side, plus we've got Pikachu too, obviously the most iconic of the Pokemon. I suppose he was kind of a starter as well in those original Game Boy games. If you played Pokemon Yellow, then you started with Pikachu. And they each come with their own terrain, so we've got Bulbasaur, obviously a grass Pokemon, and he's got a kind of grass environment. We've got Squirtle, his water environment. Pikachu, not quite sure what the environment is supposed to be here. In general, you would find him in grass environments, but we have got separately, that is not part of Pikachu. We have got a piece of kind of lightning coming out of the ground. And then we've got Charmander with his kind of fire, his lava based area. There's pretty minimal effort gone into these terrains. Probably Charmander's one is a little bit more built up, and interestingly some of the pieces that are used in there, so we've got kind of 3 2x1 blocks, all kind of have, rather than uniform design, it's kind of a marbled effect, almost like it is lava, something you wouldn't see from LEGO. You should see in the pictures just here. And also the terrains themselves, so I think we've got a picture of the lava kind of base, again a marbling effect for it, and you do see that in the water bit as well. So this isn't consistently all one colour. If we spin this around at the back, should see this isn't just shadows, it's not just the lighting here, it's actually different coloration in these bits. The other interesting bit with these base parts is they're not uniform in terms of the shape. So if this was LEGO, we'd tend to see it, you know, just being a rectangular piece, and then you'd do the shaping by adding in extra pieces. These are actually kind of shaped this way to start with. So yeah, interesting stuff there. I think I prefer the way that LEGO do it. You actually, you know, if you want shaping, angles, etc., you would clip together different parts, but different way of doing it. The other interesting bit here is that all of the faces are prints. There's no stickers involved in this at all. Of course, there's no alternate faces, so they are how they are, but kind of stuff that you don't really see too often with LEGO. They don't do tons and tons of prints. The other bit that's printed here is we've got Squirtle's torso. That's a print on that side, and there is also printing on his tail and his shell as well. Same with the torso of Pikachu at the back, and on the legs of the Pokemon there tends to be printing as well. So we've got, with Bulbasaur, we've got some printing for the kind of green bits on his legs just there, and of course the feet as well. So overall it looks fine. It was just actually the building process wasn't quite as satisfying as LEGO. So it just hurt a little bit more to put the pieces together. Now that sounds silly, but obviously you need to kind of push pieces together with your fingers, and it just felt a little bit sharper, a little bit more resistance. Probably means that in terms of taking it apart, it all stays together really well, But of course the beauty of Lego, of building blocks, is pulling it apart, taking it apart and putting it back together again in different kind of ways. One other interesting thing here is you can just have all of these terrain pieces all separately. They're just connected up with 2x2 plates, and so you can switch these around as you wish pretty easily. I think that this looks fine as is. Yeah, overall looks okay. I would say that out of the actual Pokemon themselves, probably Bulbasaur just could do with his kind of the green bit on his back, the actual bulb being filled in. It looks a bit bare with the gaps at each of the corners just there. I would have liked to seen that filled in. Otherwise, yeah, just fine. Like I say, the terrain's not great. Interesting bits, probably that's all just one moulded piece rather than being individual leaves. But yeah, overall fine. Just price wise, if you paid that recommended retail price of about $23.50 in the US, like I said, it was about 33 Canadian. That's a really high price for 130 pieces. Plus some leftover pieces. Had about a dozen leftover pieces just there. And the reason I've got a piece of actual Lego just here, so this is official Lego, is just to show that this is all compatible. It clips on just there pretty easily. So if you did want to mix it in with your regular Lego collection, you could. I don't want to. I'll very much be keeping this separate. But yeah, looks okay. Just quality wise, I would hope that when Lego do this, it'll just be a little bit better. In terms of the Jigglypuff, I probably prefer this. So what it comes as is you've got the two moulded pieces from the Pokeball, and that has all the pieces for the Jigglypuff in there, plus these instructions, which are actually absurd. So there's only 20 pieces total for this Jigglypuff, including the two parts for the Pokeball. This actually folds out into a 3-foot long set of instructions for just 20 pieces. Just completely unnecessary. The other interesting thing about Jigglypuff is that this piece, the actual tuft, is kind of a rubberized piece, so a bit like the capes that you see in Lego. They sometimes use a rubbery piece of plastic rather than the regular plastic. And overall, I think it looks pretty good, pretty accurate to the source material. Probably more accurate than any of the Pokemon in that set. And the best thing about it is probably actually the Pokeball itself. That's pretty good. I wonder if we'll get anything like that for when Lego do it. I suspect not. I reckon what we might end up with is actually a fully built up Pokeball that you pay probably $30 for just to build a Pokeball by itself. But we'll see. Like I say, be interesting to see what Lego do. I don't know that we're going to be getting anything at this kind of scale. The ideal would be, of course, that you got some moulded pieces that were minifig scale compatible, but I don't think we're going to see it happen. Yeah, that's just my gut, that instead we're probably going to be seeing big buildable figures, maybe some smaller ones that are like the Simba set that we saw earlier this year. Was it earlier this year, end of last year, from the kind of Disney range? So you had a big buildable Simba and then you had a smaller one. I suspect we're going to be seeing stuff like that. But hopefully this was useful to you. Interesting to see what the competition brings out there. Like I say, just quality wise in terms of when you're building it, not quite there compared to Lego. I definitely don't want to mix these parts in with my regular Lego parts, but overall it looks okay. Anyway, hopefully that's been useful. If it has, please do leave a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Normally it will be strictly Lego content, but with that I'll leave you and say as ever, be good.